Okay. Welcome, everybody. We've got a great little spur of the moment impromptu blessed entrepreneur. Dwayne is a friend of mine, and we've known each other for a minute now. He's got a real cool story, some cool stuff going on with his daughter, and we wanted to bring him on because I just think it's just great for everybody to be able to learn from kind of what all you have, what all you're doing. So we have Dwayne Zingali, who is a digital marketer, a parent, he's got a background in ministry, just a super great guy. Uh, Welcome to the Blessed Entrepreneur.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Billy. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, glad you're here. So your daughter wrote a book. So let's kind of jump right in here.
Yeah,
What inspired her to write it? She's 10 now, right?
she's 10 now. She wrote a book at 9. She wrote this manuscript, and it's taken us a hot minute to not take over her voice, right? It's really easy to want to do that as a parent, like, all right, well, we got to button this up. I'm leaving her story. But the inspiration starts, one, with seeing mom do it, and two, she's an avid reader. So it's been really neat to see. But a big part of the premise of wanting to write is she is an avid reader of the um, Little House series, so Little House on the Prairie, and I mean, there's a litany. You think you know them all, and then you start realizing there's a book about mom and grandma and great grandma and great great grandma and Rose, and she's read them all multiple times
Wow.
over, and she really got into. I would suppose it's a style of journaling and kind of oh, I want to write all my stories and writing your stories and writing your stories, and having seen mom written a book that's video, I can show it off. I'm a very proud husband and now father of an author and another author, dual authors. And I think seeing mom do that, she's like, well, I can do that. And one day she just decided to sit down and write, I call it a memoir of just growing up as essentially the only normal person in this family, so to speak. I've got a birth syndrome, which my youngest daughter, her sister, inherited. And mom's normal, but she grew up with a family with her older sister has grown up with so hard to say, a rheumatoid arthritis, which she spent a good portion of her life in a wheelchair. So we're very extra medical needs savvy. And she was on the outside looking in, like, why don't I have hearing aids? Why don't I need prosthetic ears? How come I don't need glasses? And asking all the questions that normally somebody on my side's like, well, why do I really have to? Why am I so different? And she's going, well, why is my family get to have all these cool things? And shouldn't I get to have a hearing aid? Shouldn't right? And actually wanting to be as her parents, which was very cool. So just kind of writing that journey of, all right, well, here's my memoir of going to the hospital for her birth and living out of the Ronald McDonald House for 6 weeks and going back for surgeries and the countless times and just kind of telling that story of being the sibling who can easily be overlooked. It's very easy when you have a special needs child. They require a lot of attention. Hospital trips, don't break your hearing aids. You can't touch that. It's a right, whatever's going on. There's a whole litany of things that require unique attention. That's often overwhelming. I'm blessed because I've gone through it, and so I know what my youngest is going through. Um, and so her experience, and there's an expression called a super sibling. So she wanted to tell her story of becoming a super sibling. A super sibling is a sibling who has a brother or sister who has extra medical needs and can often feel like they're the overlooked one, they're the invisible one, they're the voiceless one. And so a lot of childhood traumas or issues and healing can be required. And so just getting to do that with her as just part of our normal because I do a lot of coaching, I get a lot of coaching, and so we're just replicating what we've experienced with our daughter. And this story kind of began to birth itself, just kind of asking simple little questions from what it was like being the older sister and going to the hospital. So yeah, it was a very cool moment. She sat down and wrote this in a random Saturday. And she just wrote the first draft in like a 6 hour period.
Well, it's really pretty impressive. But let's back up a little bit. What, if you can, and you feel comfortable, tell us a little bit about your birth syndrome and really how that you said your youngest daughter inherited it, just
Mhm.
kind of how that's affected you guys.
Yeah, yeah. So I can show it off for those, if you are able to watch. I have a really cool trick. I can obviously take my glasses off, but I can also do this. So if you can't see it, I just pop both of my ears off. They're both prosthetic with
Well,
magnetic mounts.
I can say this because we're friends. If you would have popped your ears off, your glasses probably would have came off too, you
Yup.
know.
It's a required need for me to take the glasses. Actually, they're really good glasses, but um, yeah. So that kind of is just the very very visible aspect of it. My cool party trick. What's one
Well,
unique thing about you?
I can take off both of my ears.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I can do.
my mom only had one arm and she had looked at getting a prosthetic. This was years ago and they just didn't make them like they do now. But yeah, you were the only person I know that has a prosthetic ear, much less two. So
Too.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
it?
So growing up with it, obviously I did not have those until late in my teens. I grew up with a hearing aid right away. I needed glasses right away. So I was always kind of the awkward one. You ever have a friend who can't quite hear things right? It leads to some very funny moments. Now I know how to lean into it. But right, you hear something, it's like, did you say the Ninja Turtle blanket? It's sort of like that's the most memorable one because I had a Ninja Turtle blanket and I totally went to my childhood in a moment that it was completely unrelated to anything to do with Ninja Turtle blanket. And then, of course, everybody's in an uproar like, what made you think of that? Um, so it could be very humorous. There's also, on the side of growing up, I had my fair share of teasing. So growing up with this, like, okay, and asking myself the question, my wife's like, how come you're so confident? You're not supposed to be so confident. And the truth is, yeah, I didn't get it easy, but I had to deal with stuff right away because it was either be confident or uh, whatever the antithesis of that is. It's not having that. So I had to deal with stuff right away because of it's very visible, right? It's well, you're gonna ask me the question, why do you look so different? I've gotten that many a times, and mostly children because they innocently ask like you
Sure.
don't your eyes are different. Why are your eyes so different? They're just so beautiful. And then of course the teasing and whatnot. And I think it's easier as a guy. And it's purely genetic, which means I knew I could pass it on having kids, but that didn't stop me. Uh, kids, I always wanted kids, and so I had some. And I mean, a lot of ways it was a normal life, but yet it wasn't. Right, I have to change my batteries all the time. Before I had the cochlear implant, which has the really cool, snap on my head. I wore like a funny white bra looking thing with a giant chest pack, and I would hold my phone upside down. So I had to function a little odd, and I was certainly awkward because of it. And I've just learned to grow into my awkwardness and embrace it like I'm Michael Scott. And
That's
just
that's
kind of
fantastic.
leaning into it, right? And so it's been a journey, right, of learning to be confident despite feeling like I'm different, despite knowing I'm a little bit odd. It's really hard when I break my hearing aid and I can't hear, or I lose a battery and I don't have one on hand, because I didn't always have a wife who was always ready for her husband's battery to die, and uh, and just adapting. And but an incredible gift is when you do get something like this, you become incredibly compassionate towards those going through different things. And I've been told I have a unique gift of being incredibly sensitive to people's needs, or empathetic might be a choice word. Of being blessed to share that empathy, whether they're coming in, whether it's a birth thing or just a normal life challenge. I find it incredibly easy to be compassionate in those moments, but compassionate with confidence. And that's really what we want to instill in our daughters, is right, growing in confidence and compassion. That's why it's our tagline for this part of my business life, and just living a life where I am wonderfully me. That's why I'm wearing our brand T-shirt, um, and helping our daughters learn to lean into that. No matter how you show up, you're showing up wonderfully you. Whether you look different, you feel like you don't fit in. Uh, if you show up authentically, it's going to be a much more positive experience.
How old is your youngest daughter?
My youngest, she's 8, so 8 and 10.
Okay,
Two
so yeah,
girls.
so just 2 years apart.
Yep.
And how was she coping? I mean, because it's such an impressionable age,
Mhm.
how's she doing with this? It's got to be incredible having you as a dad that's lived this.
It is. Yeah, and I would say, I mean, that's a great benefit on my side is having dad. It's not seen as I'm not normal. And we don't allow that. There is no I'm not normal because we're not trying to be normal anyways. Um, she's very carefree and very conscientious of those around her. She's certainly kind of that sense of service. How can I help? How can I blend in? So I don't think she's ever directly, like, she's never come to me in tears because she was made fun of because she has hearing aids or anything like that. We've heard comments, we've had to address certain things, but often it's curiosity or just plain staring. And so she's, I think, looked to me in a humorous way. When she was little, probably about, I would say she was probably about 5 years old. She'd go up to mom and go, "Well, where are your hears?" She calls her hearing aid her hears. I just kind of looked at her passionately, like with full intensity, like, how can you hear without hearing aids? I don't understand. You need to wear your hearing aids so you can hear me. Don't you understand how great life is with a hearing aid? And just deeply expressing the concern of mom not wearing her hearing aids so she can hear what her and I have to say. So her perspective is very unique, and we lean into that. And I think she kind of right senses the brand, and we're always using the I am statements from kind of that world. Like, okay, how are you unique? What can you say about yourself that stands out that makes you feel vibrant and confident and alive and connected to yourself? Um, so I think the coaching tools my wife and I have been given and the gift of having gone through this already, we're really able to give her and equip her with the tools, no matter who teases her, who says something dumb, who asks curiously, but in not a kind way. Um, she's equipped with what she needs to be able to deal with those kind of moments.
Yeah. Who was that person for you?
Hmm. That person for me. Um, Not my dad, because he got swept away to prison when I was 5. That actually left me on a complete seeking journey of mentorship for decades. And so part of my personal story is always seeking. Um, I think in the end, it ended up being Jesus. Like, I leaned into the Christian faith pretty early on. I was always seeking mentorship and somebody to show me the ropes. Um, but I never really struggled with the I look different. Like, it just came not being different. I am an Enneagram 3. So, right, standing out in the
Same.
crowd
Yeah.
is my thing. I like standing out in the crowd. It makes me feel pretty awesome and influential. Like, nobody is ever going to forget my name. So, I think there's a part of the like, oh, I look different. You're so different. You hear different. All that. I'm different because I'm a wonder is it leans into the gift that God gave me for a personality. So a lot of the normal things were like, well, how do I change the oil in a car? And how do I build a computer? And how do I start a business? And right, how do I get married? How do I date? All those things left to my own devices and seeking mentors always. And to this day, I live to have a mentor in my life, no matter what.
How did you and your wife meet? If I can ask.
Yeah, no, you can ask
That's
anything.
okay.
I'm just going back in memory. So I was a part of Youth with a Mission, or YWAM is
Yep.
the
Yeah.
common phrase a lot of people know. I was full time in ministry, as was she at that point. So we've been married, so this would have been 2010. I took a trip to Idaho. I had been doing full-time ministry and living out of China, and I just felt this pull to go to India. And a friend of mine's like, "Come to Idaho for this thing." So I went up there, and it was a program called the School of Apostolic Pioneering. I like to be a part of startups. pioneering is what we called it in ministry life. Um, and so she was a part of the base there, and she and I immediately hit it off, just from a friendship way. And that's what we did the school together, and then we ended up as 8 of us traveling in a 15-passenger van along to Portland and Mendocino, all up and down California, all the way to up to Washington. Number of just different ministry opportunities, and over that trip, I became schmitten. So it only took 9 months from meeting my wife to marrying my wife. But we
Wow.
were with each other constantly. And for her, she did ask the questions like, he looks different. And I lean into, he's loud and obnoxious and makes himself the highlight of the crowd. She's very much a like behind the scenes kind of person. Um, she's learned to embrace being seen. Um, and so I was like, okay, he will be looked at one way or another, whether he's trying to be because he has a obnoxiously loud attention getting voice or because he looks different and his face gets attention. Granted, she had some significant dreadlocks and still does. So she draws attention to herself culturally speaking in the Christian world, especially coming from a very like she was Northeast, but very strong, like, that Baptist style Christianity. Um,
Right.
and so she stood out in certain crowds. And so that was an amazing journey. And just knowing that, like, no, she has this common phrase. Let's see if I can say it right. He is the amazing man he is because of what he's been through, which is in part because of his birth syndrome. And so she immediately made that, right, a tribute to, hey, I grew up this way. And at that point, I kind of knew that, she went through similar things because her older sister. And so she knows that life a lot more. So I think there's an element she was ready for what comes with having extra medical needs.
Right. Right. And then how long have y'all been married?
This will be 13 years this May.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Uh, so you start having kids. You also have a business. Um, you're very entrepreneurial. And what is it? What has it been like for you to go out and I will say this, there's a lot of people that don't have your birth syndrome, obviously, and it still struggle to even start, right? To go out and do something. And you're like, it's nothing. And you just go out and do it. And then being able to transfer that same spirit to your children, your daughter wanting to write a book, and
Mhm.
I'm kind of getting two questions there, but
Yeah. Um, So I definitely have always been drawn to things that are new. So it's like, hey, this is going to be a new thing. I like sign me up. It's the new thing. I want to be the first. Um, so that's just a natural proclivity, but it didn't always come easy. I've made a lot of dumb mistakes. And I've had a lot of flops, and it's learning to go, okay, that failure was painful, but I learned something. What is an opportunity? And learning from that, we came out of YWAM, right? We were very pioneering spirited, but I didn't realize at that point, like the spirit of pioneering and apostolic and entrepreneurship were one and the same. Um, in that, right, that desire to start things. So I found myself in a very, very significant spot where I was like, oh no, now what? And I just went out and asked countless number of people, what do you need? And what's your biggest struggle? And how can I help with that? And I just put myself, it must have been 30, 40 meetings. And then next I know, I'm a part of something. And passing that on, and one, I don't make it invisible. Sometimes it's like, oh, I got to coop up in my little hole, and this is my focus time, um, or this is my business. And I always like to let them see what Becky and I are both doing. Of course, mom's the same way. She's got a very successful Etsy shop, and now successful children's author. Um, and so they see a lot of it. So just the gleaning from getting to participate. Oh, hey, you want to help me with? And I think a lot of that comes from ministry life when you're living in the mission and all the training and seeing what children went through. The best MKs, missionary kids, were the ones who were included in the hospitality, in the moments, not the, hey, we're doing this, go away. It was, no, hey, come be a part of this. And so I think we embodied that spirit of like, I don't ever want to say, hey, I'm busy and I'm doing this, go away. So a bit of it, I've had webinars. So I'm teaching, it's a summit. And I'm like, all right, here comes my kid. She's in my lap. Welcome to this life. You get to let my child be a part of this moment. Even if they walked in here right now, right? There's that very viral video of the dad freaking out because he's on CNN and the kid shows up. And I'm very much the dad who's like, oh, hey, my kid's gonna be on CNN. Awesome. Welcome to
Yeah.
family life, working from home. And so that desire to include them, even if it's just because they're present, was a big thing. It's like, hey, and do you want to participate? And just offering that you want to help, which is often a no. No, they don't. They don't want to put shipping labels on anything. I have a hard enough time getting them to help me sort Legos. Although my youngest is the more helpful type. She'll help. And whereas Chloe, my author, is very independent, do my own thing. I'm going to do what I want when I want. But embodying that spirit. And there's also we had a key and pivotal choice that we made. We used to live in Bend, Oregon, i.e., heaven on earth, like the most amazing town in all of America. And I
What was the
know a lot
city
of
again?
Bend, Oregon.
Bend. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of people, who know of it because of its recreational. It's very well branded, but I could go snowboarding in 30 minutes. I could go snowboarding and biking on the same day. I could go, down the river on the same day as well. So it was a very exceptionally wonderful recreational city, and then touristy. So I could go get great food, all sorts of directions. And we made a significant decision to move to Reading because of a school an old friend of mine was starting called Act On Academy. It's essentially a franchise. Its premise is based on a MBA program out of University of Austin. Um, and the whole premise is it's child-led learning designed to raise entrepreneurs who build a portfolio, not more factory workers. Putting some of my own words to it. And at this point, my wife and I are very strong, and the entrepreneurs like, okay, you said child-led learning, that you had me there, and then raising entrepreneurs. Sign me up. So we made a very pivotal decision to make their education entrepreneurially based, where part of their annual program is to build a pop-up tent style business, and they have to go to the children's business fair and sell stuff at a table, in which they've sold painted rocks successfully, for 3 years now. My oldest was like, this is again playing into the why a book. I was like, well, mom has a book. If I go and sell a book at this, I'm going to make $20 every sale instead of $2 every sale, right? And thinking through. And so just that motivation of being amongst entrepreneurial types as her peers, and then the program really designed around, it actually has a lot of the flow, design through, I can't ever say his name, the Czech guy who wrote the book Flow, where it's like, all right, here's your comfort zone, here's your challenge zone, here's your overwhelm zone. How do we live in the challenge zone to create things from that challenge? Because we'll get bored in the comfort and overwhelmed in the extent. And so it's very designed to continue to challenge them in their personal mastery.
That's so good. When did you realize, well, I guess just the school has obviously helped. So this is a school that they actually attend. This
Mhm.
is their school then, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is their school, right? We don't even call it a school; it's an academy.
Okay.
So it's very much like it kind of has a college vibe to it, and it's structured in groups of littles. So you're kind of Montessori style up to
Okay.
second grade, the first to fifth grade, the middle school and the high school, and they're more classic style of groupings. And then when you're in fifth grade, you should be helping lead the first and second graders. And so leadership is built in from the get-go. And so it's very designed. It's a 5 day a week thing, can be four, and that's been exceptional to them. Just kind of grasping, but is very parent involved too. It's like I can't just, oh, my kids are. It's like, no, they're gonna go through emotionally difficult moments where they're getting pushed, and you got to show up as the parent and have the tools to support them when school's hard because it's designed to be hard.
Yeah, that's so good. There's a lot of people don't realize this, and this is why, some people don't want to homeschool, for example, because the social environment. But there's we homeschooled our youngest, and not because we had an issue with the public school. It was because of our business, we get to travel a lot. And the fact that, wait a second, we can't wait, why do we have to be back Monday? Oh, because he has
Exactly.
to be in school. So it's like, well, hang on a second. Um, so there's that aspect of it, and people, so we start doing research. Do we even want to do this? There is never a time in your life that you're in a room with people your age, your exact age, outside of traditional public schools. Like
It's
you're just
very
not. You're
peculiar.
never. You're not in college.
At work.
You're just not. Yeah, and so that's not that big of a deal. And we're very social, very involved in different things. But I love how they have that set up, and it's so great that you guys really did invest everything in their education, moving and doing all this. And I love what you said about wanting them to be a part. Whenever we started Cairo Candy, our oldest, Brady, he was a senior in high school, and then he moved off and started going to Bible school. He went to Christ for the Nations up in Dallas. And my wife's like, I wish he would work in the business. And we like would barely just kind of briefly mention it. Hey, would you want to help with this? We never ever pushed it. And yeah, there's a saying that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So it's like, just it needs to be his decision. And and so he goes off to school and he gets a job. He worked at a car dealership, making phone call. He wasn't doing sales. He was like calling people that had recalls, whatever. Like
Hmm.
Honda requires, the dealers to call everybody that owns a Civic that has something wrong with it, whatever. He did that for a while. He was working at FedEx, loading trucks at night and doing all this kind of odd end stuff. And he came in town, and I had just signed up a bunch of new accounts, and I was kind of in the weeds because I was doing everything. And I was like, hey, if you'll help me do this, I've already got videos to show you how to do it. I'll pay you, is it like 50 or $60 per account you set up? And he was like, done. So it's like, finally he realized, wow, I can actually get paid, and it's so much better than the other work that I was doing. And getting our kids involved, I think, has helped there. Now he owns a very successful, marketing agency,
Hmm.
and my daughter and her husband work with us. And my youngest son, works in the business, has been doing Google ads since he was 13, and now he's 17 and is very, very good at it. Um, so I love how you're putting your children in an environment to succeed, like to learn that, into life is difficult. It doesn't matter what challenges you have without any birth syndromes, it's still hard. Like
Right.
it's still, so it's like, I just love how you show up for your kids. I think that's great. What your oldest daughter's name is? Chloe.
Chloe, yeah.
Chloe, um what's the no, she just wrote the book. Kind of
Hmm.
what stage is it right now? How can we support? And then
Yeah.
what's her plan going forward with it?
Yep. So stage right now is it's live on Kickstarter. So it's exciting. We got her professional editor. Said, all right, here's how you do this. You get a professional editor and a professional. So it's illustrated and edited. And we'll be going to print here as soon as Kickstarter's over in 15 days. So we're kind of teaching her, all right, here's how to do marketing. She's a little apprehensive. I got her to do one podcast, and it was outside her challenge zone and in the I'm gonna break down in tears zone.
Oh no.
So I was like, all right, well, we won't go that far. So just right teaching her like, hey, here's what we're doing to market it. You know, she's very comfortable standing behind her table doing her Act On Academy thing. So yeah, it's live on Kickstarter right now, and we'll be able to print it and ship it. Hopefully, we can get her to put some shipping labels on things, right? Here's how do you deliver a product, and that'll probably be, it's May, probably May, June. We'll be able to to send that out. So yeah, it's very exciting to bring something of your child's to life, and be an advocate and supporter. Like, hey, here's all the things I learned, and yes, there is some taking over at certain moments where you're like, okay, you're in school, you don't know how to, you don't even have an email address that you can email an illustrator with. So a bit of it was very much taking our expertise from the first book and helping, hey, here's what we did, and giving her a summary of kind of how we're doing that, but bringing her book to life and kind of letting her include herself as much as she's willing along the way.
I think it's great. In the Facebook group, in the Blessed Entrepreneur Facebook group, which is where most of you guys, I know we have some live on here on Zoom with us, but I did put a link to the Kickstarter so people can go there. And I know there's different options on, how they can support it. I think it's fantastic. What does your younger daughter think about her sister writing a book?
I think I mean, she thinks it's cool. I don't know if her mind like has wrapped a head around like, okay, she just did what mom did and there's going to be a second book.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's sort of one of those things once she holds it, it'll be really cool. I think they're best friends. They like doing things together. It's really neat. I'm very fortunate to have an Elsa and Anna, so to speak. They're very much the best friends, kind of sisters that you see that kind of movie and you're like, I hope those are my little girls. And so far it's working. I still have to get through teenage years, so
Yeah.
all the real parents out there can let me know.
Hey, I will say this. We were very blessed, all of our kids. I mean, Brady had a little bit of a wild streak, but it really wasn't even, it wasn't that bad. They were never very rebellious. I remember Taylor, Taylor Noel was probably 12, and we had gone to a family movie, or we had gone to the movies as a family. And I remember holding her hand, could not tell you what the movie was, but the whole time I remember thinking, this is probably the last time she'll ever hold my hand in public. Because I just knew like
Hmm.
she's kind of getting to that age. And, with a daughter, it's like, I want to show her as much attention and affection as I can because I don't want her looking for it anywhere. Like, she's not going to be starved for that, right? She's
Hmm.
going to get tons of love and attention from daddy. Um, and so doing that, and, I think the teenage years for us was about being careful. I mean, to have some rules and guidelines, but really the principles behind the rules and guidelines, right?
Hmm.
It's not like, I mean, there are some religions that have rules that they think is going to build a relationship, whenever really the relationship should
It's the whole
support the
reason
rules.
behind any of this, right? Because you like being in relationship, and this is
Yeah,
what makes
yeah.
Papa happy.
Whenever I love the story, whenever Joseph was um, you know, over all the Potiphar's things. Like he's just one of the rulers basically. And then the Potiphar's wife is making passes at him. And his response was, first off, it would be wrong against your husband, and it would
Hmm.
also be a sin against God. Well, how did he know it was a sin against God? Because this happened before the Ten Commandments. He knew it was wrong because he had a relationship with God. And so I think whenever we have those relationships, then it makes our kids not want to do the bad things, right? And then we also have a background in youth ministry. So we saw the parents that had the strict rules were the
Yep.
ones that their parents, I mean, that their kids were pushing the buttons and testing the boundaries and really trying to do that. So we really try to have that relationship. Not that we want to be our kids' best friends, but we want to be able to our kids to talk to
Connection.
us and
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
have that connection. And so it's great that you and your wife have that with your kids. And I think it's great that your youngest daughter is going to be like, this is normal. Like, we just write books.
We
That's
just
what our
write
family
books and we
does.
build things and we create. And yeah, family
Yeah,
business should
we're
start right away.
creators. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're creators. Well, thank you so much for spending your Monday evening with us.
Absolutely. Thanks
I
for
know
having
that,
me.
yeah, I think it's fantastic. So, anything, anything that you want to close with?
Sure. Something very true to the brand is there's a Dr. Seuss quote, right? There is no one youer than you, so you should be truer than true by staying true to you. I think it really is indicative to, right? Being confident and compassionate means being authentic to the identity in Christ that you carry. And to be somebody else would be a disservice to humanity. So always growing towards the you you're supposed to become is how you do these kind of things. You get to be there and a support and advocate for your children, but she'll go through the same journey when her time comes and right, the identity stuff comes up. So, yeah,
Dwayne,
you can
it's
just
been
always say,
golly.
I am wonderfully me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on this evening.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thanks for having me. It's good to connect.